Welcome back to another episode of the Amazon Private Label Show podcast. Back, as usual, with the founders of FBA University. Quick hiatus to interview a couple Amazon studs. But, my man, we are back. Another episode. What we're talking about today is really our newest and best launch tactics, launch secrets, if you want a catchy title on YouTube. But really things that generally just work better than other things, because launching is the most important part probably. And well, it's at least the hardest because you don't really know how to get traction when you start. So we're going to discuss what's worked best, especially in the last year. My man, Ryan's over there in London, as always. Why don't you... We've both been launching a bunch of products individually. Our device is at the time of the recording about 3 to 7 days from being live, so we will have an update there. But what have you seen that's working best right now?
So one thing I highlight first of all when it comes to launching a product is, Amazon can be hit or miss, right? So one thing you've got to get right is the differentiation. So you have to make your product stand features or do it through the photography. There's a bunch of stuff that you can do preliminary to launch, things like using Helium 10's audience tool, things like using Reddit to get a poll done and really get people's views on how you should differentiate your product, or if you're looking at launching a black product versus a white product, what one people like. But again, that's quite subjective, and that is a small sample of population of Amazon customers. So one thing that you will never really know, and it's kind of guesswork, and this kind of sucks, is when you differentiate your product, you never will know really until you bring it to market whether your variation or your differentiated product is actually going to work. Because ultimately, you can do as much, as I said, upfront work, but you never really know. So one thing I love to do, especially I'm doing it with my new launches, instead of launching just one product and one variation, I like to launch multiple variations because I like to cater to different people in the market. So some people, like I said, if I've got white, black, and a green product, some people are going to prefer the green, some people are going to prefer the black, some people are going to prefer the white. And a lot of times when I've launched products, I found that it's normally the color variation or pattern variation or size variation that I didn't think would work quite well. That outperforms the one I originally had as being kind of the flagship model. So had a launch recently where one size variation actually sold 8 times better than another size variation that I originally had as kind of my flagship model. So I want to kind of stress that nothing really is set in stone with Amazon just because you think something's going to work, or just because the manufacturer says, hey, this is my most popular model, it's the small size. It might be the medium or large size actually that brings in the most revenue once you're Amazon, because the dynamics change, right? And don't literally take what people say as gospel. Take it with a pinch of salt. So I found that by launching multiple variations, don't have to go big. I'd say 100 units of each variation. That really is the way to go when it comes to testing the market, because your first be a test order, right? So that's a great way to kind of split the risk. And also, when you think about it, like having 100 of each size variation or color variation actually helps your MOQ, because you're not dedicating 250 units to one color or one size, 500 units to one color or one size. You can just going 100 of each, and say one color size sucks and it didn't quite go that well. It's easier to sell through 100 units than it is 250 or 500 units. So bear that in mind. That's one thing I'd actually really advocate for during the launch period. And the other thing I want to highlight to you guys is when you're thinking about launching and setting up your PPC campaigns, one thing I don't see people go heavy on enough, which really helps conversions when you've got no reviews and you're just starting out and building yourself, building the sales velocity, building the algorithm, is going strong on targeting campaigns. So I see people set up their broad campaigns, I see people set up their exact match campaigns, phrase campaigns, but they really neglect targeting. What I love to do launch, I've got no reviews, I've optimized my listing, I've got sexy images, everything's looking crispy clean. What I love to do is bolster the bids on my ASIN targeting. So I'll look at the top ASINs, I'll look at people who have, not the best reviews, I have, a shit ton of revenue. And I'll basically target all of these guys, but I'm going super heavy. I'm going heavier on my ASIN targeting campaign than I'm going on my keyword campaigns, because ultimately I found great conversions. Because if you think about it, when you're advertising on someone's ASIN, you are placed just above the reviews. So you're actually against less digital real estate than if, you're looking on the actual Amazon.com search results page. So that's why I go super heavy. If you've got a really good hero image, which you probably will have, a really clickbaity hero image, you can convert a lot of sales off the back of people who have more reviews than you, people that are more established than you, etc. So that's another great tip. I love to do that during my launch. That's one way to stay ahead of the game, baby.
Yeah, those are, I mean, they're both just unique, and you kind of learn through launches, because when you start out, you just want to kind of run the template and see what happens. But I'll add a couple other things that are just more unique. So assuming you're going to have your SEO, you're going to have your listing stacked with your keywords. One thing that's actually seen improvement in my listings is using back-end fields, like just normal categories like model number, make number. There's somewhere upward, or sometimes upwards of 100 categories in the back end of a listing. You don't have to fill out most, but most of them will show up on the detail page if you do. And so what you can actually do is put keywords in those fields. So say it's the model number, you can do whatever your product is, Yeti microphone, and then just -1 or whatever, but you're inputting another exact match in your listing. So I've seen that work well. That's one unique thing you probably haven't heard. And then one other thing that we preach a lot, but it just makes a huge difference at a launch, is having a good number of search, find, buy targeted reviews. So if you launch and just run PPC and just have people buy, say your friends and family, just buy from a direct link, that'll help. Like, sales always help your listing. But if you have people search one or two of your top keywords, find your listing organically from a search in the algorithm, and then buy, it signals to Amazon, especially for high search volume keywords, that your product is relevant for that. And that's way more valuable long-term than just a purchase. So those two things are just a little nuanced, but really can make or break those first 30, 60 days of a launch.
100%. I'm going to add one more thing, guys, and it's really, if you only have brand registry, but it's the Amazon Vine program. Take it with a pinch of salt. I have used it in the past. I've had varying success with it. But and this is something I want to say to you guys, if and only if you have a very, very high quality product that you know is a great product, you have amazing images, you have the complete package, like you really invest heavily in the product, which you should do anyway. Obviously, there's some types of products where you go the extra mile with and you get that additional benefit. If you have one of those types of products, I recommend you enroll in the Amazon Vine program. What it does is essentially give away up to 30 units of product. You pay $200 to enroll. And Amazon basically will give out your unit basically super reviewers. And they will give an review of your product, 1 and 5 stars. But if you have a great product, you're probably going to get a bunch of 5 stars. And that can really help you build that social proof and that traction early on. If you just launch and you've got 5 Vine reviews and they're all 5 stars, that's going to look a lot better than you having no. You know what I mean? Especially as you scale to page 1 and you're being pushed by the kind of honeymoon period that Amazon has as well. So that's a great tactic. I mean, one of our students, Pablo, he scaled to around 10K in his first 30 days. Actually, he didn't have many reviews. I think he had like 2 reviews, but those are buys. And by being on page 1 in a less competitive, he was able to crush it, and he's back in stock now, and he's continuing to crush it. So, getting to page 1 is absolutely during the launch period, and those are the different tips and tricks that we have to kind of get you guys there. So, hope you enjoy that, guys. If you haven't got Helium 10 for whatever reason, I don't know why you wouldn't, but take a look at our description, our show notes. If you're listening to the podcast, we have an exclusive link. It's 20% off for 6 months, or 10% off for life. So, if you haven't, grab some discount, grab it. And the Amazon Accelerator 2.0 program, which is our private mentorship program, it's a year long where we give you unlimited calls with us. We scale 3+ private label products within that year period, is open for the next few weeks. So take a look at the link in the show notes. Book a call with us if it sounds like something that you're interested in, that you want to get involved with. We coach a lot of podcast listeners, get them setting through on Amazon and building businesses. So if that sounds like you and you want to get involved, book a call with us using the link in the description. And we'll see you in the next episode.
Let's go.